Okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. So tonight we're going to be having a discussion. Thank you so much for joining us. This discussion tonight is going to be about running a genre-specific channel, and I have two wonderful ladies here who are both running also genre-specific channels, and I thought of them immediately when this topic came up. Actually, I was thinking, how can I fit them into this? And actually, that's where the inspiration came from. So excited to have these ladies here as guests. Hello, Christina.
So excited to be here.
Yes. Do you guys want to maybe introduce your channel briefly? Chelsea, you want to start?
Sure. I'm Chelsea. My channel is Voyage of a Time Wanderer. And I made my first videos on booktube back in 2017, but then I kind of immediately stopped. And I came back in 2020 and have been kind of irregularly posting since then. I live in Canada, in British Columbia, so on the west coast of Canada. I'm in the mountains. And I work in post-secondary education. That's kind of my one-liner.
Nice. That's perfect. That's so funny that you started and then stopped for a while, because I feel like a lot of booktubers have that experience where we'll upload a couple videos, kind of feel it out, and then come back to it later. I know Victoria did the same thing. She deleted
Yeah,
a bunch
I had 4 or 5 videos from 2017.
And Peg, do you want to give a quick bio of your channel?
Yes. So I'm Peg. My channel is The History Shelf. I think I started this channel in 2019. It feels like right before the pandemic. So I think 3 or 4 years maybe on YouTube. I can't believe it's already been 4 years. I started it just at the urging of my my partner Martine, who was just like, "You love booktube so much, why don't you just start the channel?" And I got over my fears and I did it, and I've never looked back. And so my day job, I am a copywriter. I work in marketing, and I work for a higher education nonprofit association that kind of works with how we use technology in higher education today. So it's pretty fascinating. I love what I do during the day, and I love this channel, and I love the booktube community at night and on the weekends, and that's my life in brief.
That's perfect. Thank you, guys. We have some friends here in the chat. Hi, Liv. Welcome, Cool Gamer. And
Christina. Hello, everybody.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. So I feel like why don't you guys talk a little bit about the kind of books that you guys read? I noticed you have your channel names in your names. That's perfect. So what do you guys read over on your channel, and what kind of videos do you like to do?
Chelsea, you want to go first, or?
Sure. So my all-time favorite genre is historical fiction. Ever since I was a little kid, I was the kid reading the Dear Canada, Dear American Diaries, and the Royal Diaries, and the American Girl books. So I've loved historical fiction from when I was little, and that has never changed. But I also really like reading classics, mysteries, African literature. My husband is from Zambia, so I enjoy reading books that are about his culture. And then in nonfiction, I like reading social history and theology. So those are kind of the genres that I read. But definitely historical fiction is the majority. I sent Christy, when she invited me to this chat, I sent her a screenshot of my StoryGraph statistics. And it's historical fiction is so far beyond all the others that it's more than double my next most read genre. So it definitely dominates my reading.
Yeah, that was you are perfect for this topic then. How about you, Peg?
Chelsea and I have a lot of similar interests. We have a lot of overlapping. I also like to read theology too, Chelsea. And historical fiction obviously is huge for me when it comes to the fiction side of things. Obviously, my major love is history, nonfiction, and it's really interesting. You think I'd only have pockets of interest, but really any type of history just fascinates me. Maybe up until like the 1960s or so. I kind of like to look back a little bit more. So all of history just fascinates me. To me, it's one big story, a real story, a true story. People's lives are fascinating. I read biography. I also read mysteries. I'm a big lover of mysteries, obviously, and we'll get into it here as well. When you depart from your genre specific to do something different on your channel, the difficulties of that, like with our Marple a Month series, that is really quite different from the history, side of things, but I choose to do it on the channel. So yeah, mysteries, thrillers. I will read the classics from time to time. I like doing that in a buddy read format, or doing it with a group of people to really bat around ideas. So yeah, I think that's the grand scope of my reading. I also read a lot of magazines and journals too. I subscribe to a ton of those. So
that makes sense as a history reader. And other things too, but I just feel like if you're really interested in history, that magazines, you can get a lot of good like scholarly stuff,
You can.
This is great. Yeah.
Oh. Scan away.
He's like zooming in,
Yeah, he's like
it is an impressive backdrop.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is my working office. So spent a lot of time in here. So I wanted to have some of my best friends, like right here in the room with me.
That's cool.
That is awesome. So do you guys ever read like specifically to fit your channel, or is your channel just like a product of your natural inclinations and you just decided to say, this is the main thing I read? You want to start, Peg?
Sure. I think so. I think definitely, when I approached starting a booktube channel, I was like, well, let me look at the majority of the books on my shelves at the time. And I had much less than I do now. I was like, history, it's definitely history. And I could speak to this more, I don't want to say authoritatively, but more, just well-read, that's where I have the wealth of my reading experience lies in the history genre. So I was like, let's go with this, and so, yeah, I've seen a lot of other booktube channels that are really, heavy on fiction and contemporary fiction and things like that. And I'm like, well, that's not me. So like, what is me? And I was like, I just looked at my shelves. I said, history. And it just seemed like the right fit, even though I read just more than that. Yeah.
Is that like your channel origin story?
Yes, I think it is my channel origin story.
I love it.
Yeah.
I should have included that into this question.
Oh, yeah. Again, just browsing the shelves. I'm like, I have things I can talk about. I love history so much. I'm so passionate about it, and so passionate about just, wanting people to read more, to get more interested, and to know that it's not just boring. It's not just dates and events. It's actually, if you love fiction, it's an easy leap in my mind, because you could, like, Chelsea, with your love of historical fiction. I mean, it's just like, these things actually happen to people, and life is even stranger than fiction. So it's just like, it's an easy leap to make. And I just wanted people to be more interested in history and to know it more,
I love that. So your channel is partly you want to inspire people to read more history.
Yes, that's a big part of it.
That's awesome. That's such a good reason for having a channel. One of many, I'm sure. Yeah. And people clearly are buying it because they love your channel.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does. When you make a genre-specific channel, It does. And this answers one of the other questions I think we were going to cover. It's one of the great things about having a genre specific channel is that it gets you in touch almost immediately with the people who share your interests.
Yeah.
So that's been just wonderful. I've met so many people, made so many friends on booktube who are just so into history, and we just geek out over it in the comment section and on Voxer or Buddy Reads. Just it's awesome.
That is awesome. You can meet like true kindred spirits, which I know Chelsea is one, because when I invited her to this collab, she was like, oh, I love Peg's channel.
Oh my God. Chelsea, oh my God. See, this is great. And now we're going to be doing more stuff together, and I just love it. I love it.
Yes. So, Chelsea, do you want to give us your channel's origin story of your name?
Yeah. So my name, Voyage of a Time Wanderer, it actually, my first kind of foray into the bookish internet was a very briefly lived book blog. And so I was creating that, I think, around like 2013, 2014. And I was rereading through the Narnia series at the time. And I had just read Voyage of the Dawn Treader. And I was obsessed with that book. I was like, oh my goodness, this is such an incredible, incredible book. I love the way that title sounds. I want to incorporate that into my online bookish identity. And so I came up with Voyage of a Time Wanderer, kind of riffing off of Voyage of the Dawn Treader, because I always say that reading historical fiction, for me, it feels like the easiest / cheapest way to time travel, because I get so immersed into the lives and time periods that I'm reading about. So it's like time wandering for me every time I pick up a book that's set in a new historical period. And it's funny because at that point I was really just starting with my journey with the classics. So it's funny how the title has kind of grown with me as I've become more interested in reading classics and theology. It's like, oh, actually, this title kind of references historical fiction, classics, and theology. Like, it's like I've continued to kind of evolve, and it's just fit what I like to read better and better as time has gone on, which has been kind of fun. But that's my origin story of the name Voyage of a Time Wanderer.
I love it.
It's kind of a mouthful. So sometimes I'm like, ooh, did I pick, every time people have to say it, they're like kind of stumbling over it, but I really like it.
I love it.
I think it's perfect. And like you said, it represents your interests really well. And as soon as you said historical fiction, I was like, that makes so much sense. Because when I first heard it, I thought, because you were in Kate's Patreon, and so I thought it must refer to classics. But then when I started watching your videos, it was like, she's like, no, this is historical fiction is what she's referencing. So I think it's perfect.
Well, Christy, could I throw the question back at you? Because I think all of our viewers could I think I know the origin story of your channel name, but I think we could all stand a refresher as well for Dostoevsky in space. What would that mean for someone first coming to your channel?
Sure. That's like my most requested. Like, everybody wants to know that. I get lots of comments asking that. So yeah. And part of why I wanted to have this discussion is my channel is also kind of genre specific. So my channel name is Dostoevsky in Space because I had just come off of reading Crime and Punishment when I created this channel. Actually, I created this channel quite a long time ago just for my library job because I was showing teenagers how to like upload a book review. So I posted a few things several, like, I don't even know, 8 years ago, just, random videos basically to show my teenagers. And then I really was doing a book blog for a long time of fantasy. But as soon as I read Crime and Punishment, I was like, I know this is the direction I want to go. I want to read more Dostoevsky. I want to read Russian literature. I want to explore the classics. So there was that. And I also was really interested in exploring more science fiction. And I was also writing a lot at the time. So writers, it's kind of fun. When you're trying to describe a genre, you always are coming up with like elevator pitches to describe your book, basically, like a quick one-liner to describe your book. And so frequently book pitches will be like, you know, Jurassic Park in space, or, you know, something like that, such and such with dragons, you know.
Right.
And so I just thought Dostoevsky in space. That's a good.
Wasn't that a Muppets line too? Muppets in space?
It probably is.
It was. That's probably a generational thing, but there was a movie Muppets in space. I wonder if anyone in the chat remembers that. But anyway.
Yes. Muppets are the best. Muppet Treasure Island was a favorite.
Yeah. Oh, there it is from Lou. Pigs in Space from the Muppet Show.
Pigs in Space.
It's a thing. I'll have to send you a
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
Clearly.
That is hilarious.
Matt knows it too. Hi, Victoria. Welcome.
Yay.
Love
Yes,
it.
this is what I'm talking about. You have all your friends in the chat, and it's just, this wouldn't have happened without, you know, just making the channels that really just draw people's interest in, you know, whether the name is super clear or not. I think it's just people kind of gravitate to like-minded readers, you know.
Definitely. Hi, Groovy Pop Tart.
Oh, that's a great name, Groovy Pop Tart.
Isn't that great?
Yes.
How do you guys remember how long it took you to come up with your names? Like, were you sitting on it for a while first? Did you come up with multiple names? Like, how about you, Chelsea?
I think I came up with it fairly quickly once I knew I wanted to go with the Voyage of a X kind of theme. I had my other passion, I guess, besides reading is genealogy and genealogy research, and I had kind of branded myself in that sphere as time wanderer or a time wanderer for a while. So I already had that phrase, and then I was just like, oh, I can link those together, and this can be my bookish side of the internet identity. So I had kind of the elements of the name sitting there, but it definitely took me forever to actually like start the channel. I had the name and stuff and like had that as my name on Goodreads forever before I started actually like posting bookish content.
Yeah. For a working person, it kind of is, it's a little extra energy than we're sometimes, especially for introverts, willing to put out. But I'm so glad you guys both made the leap so that we could get to know you on here. How about you, Peg?
Yes.
Quickly did you come up with it, or slowly?
I think it was relatively quick. I think I went through the usual kind of, at first I wasn't quite sure. Like I figured maybe if I didn't use history in the title, that would free me up, you know, to do other things. So I was like, you know, silly things like Home Raider or something like that. And someone's already, you know, so you got to search those names to see if someone's already taken them. And, you know, I'm so glad I didn't go with that. But and then after just talking it over with Martine, I just like, I think history should be in the title. You know, I really want to draw those people in. And I think I went through a couple of variations, you know, the history pages or whatever. And then I just like, well, let's talk about the history shelf. And then it just was like, oh, that's it. And then it just stuck. So we went with that.
Good choice. Good choice.
Oh. Thank you.
I started this channel originally, I think it was just under my name. And then when I really started booktubing, I was trying to create a book club. So I had it as, I think, the name of my book club initially. I had like a book club on Facebook. And then I changed it to Dostoevsky in Space. But that was before I hit like 100 subscribers, I think. So it was probably in the first 6 months or so that I changed it to Dostoevsky in Space. I was just remembering this as we were talking about it. It's like, God, I actually had a different channel name at first.
Oh, the truth comes out.
Yeah. So,
Let's see.
do you guys? What was that? Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, I was just moving on to. I think we had some other.
Yeah, we have some other questions.
Yeah.
So, are you guys? Do you try to like consciously stick to your genres, or are you more of like a mood reader? Like if you suddenly decided, like Peg, you were talking about, if you were just like, I need to read every mystery, that I can get my hands on, and that's all I'm interested this year, would you do that? Or would you be like, well, this is the history shelf, so I'm gonna stick with my normal stuff?
Yes. Actually, what happens here is that I want to be more of a mood reader, and this is one of the troubles I'm running into right now. Just because right now I'm kind of fixed, mostly history and nonfiction, but I have been branching out because as well as doing the channel and other things, I write book reviews, as you know, and so I'm assigned a lot of work. A lot of it is history, upcoming history, which is great, and then I can give people a heads up. Hey, this book is coming, and I've got a review up here. Go check it out. So really, my book reviews are kind of directing my reading right now, and I really do miss just being able to sit down and just say, I feel like reading this. You know what I mean? Instead of assignments. So I think that's what I'm wrestling with right now is like, how do I make that balance? Like I do enjoy my book reviewing, but I don't want it to take up so much of my reading time,
Yeah.
But that's my own fault because I have put myself out there saying, yes, I can do that. I have a hard time saying no. That's my issue. So the goal at the History Shelf is to be more of a mood reader. I do have ideas for future videos. It just requires me to block out, to not take on as much book reviewing, because I would like to do a series where I'm just like called like Off the History Shelf, and it's going to be a book a month from my shelf that I'm going to read and kind of report back on. So I can kind of, work through what I actually have on my shelves. So that's something that I want to do because, the struggle is real between mood reading and feeling, like what you have to read just history for this channel. I don't play by all the rules, if there are any booktube rules. I kind of make my own as I go.
So you're moving in the direction of mood reader. How about you, Chelsea? Are you like mood reader, or do you generally follow a TBR pretty strictly? How do you feel about these things?
I would say a mix. So if you look in the notes on my phone, you would think I was like extremely regimented because I have like a note and I have all my months planned, and I note down whether I'm going to read it digitally, physically, or audio after. And I have like months, like I have books planned through to like October next year because I'm already being like, oh, I see a Victober TBR and I'm like, oh, I want to read that, but this Victober's full. So I have like 12 to 15 months of plan on my phone. And then inevitably I hear about a cool book, or I get approved for something on NetGalley, or I'm just not in the mood for it, and then I rearrange my little notes app. That's why I like having it in the notes app, because I can just like cut and paste. I didn't get to this book this month. The other thing I do though, when I'm planning my TBRs, I kind of know like my mood reading is very seasonal, so I can kind of predict like in the spring I'm always going to want to read a Montgomery. Oh, in like the fall winter I'm more into like the gothic mystery kind of reading, so I can kind of predict my mood reading and then plan a TBR around it. And I think one of the things that's great about historical fiction is I can mood read within historical fiction. Like I'll get really into an era and I'll read like a bunch of books set in that era. And that's still mood reading, but it's still historical fiction. So, I'll go in like a binge of reading a bunch of Tudor historical fiction books. And then I'll be like, I was just looking and I'm like, I haven't read any Tudor historical fiction in like a year and a half after reading through like,
tons.
A whole bunch of books all at once. And so that kind of affects, I guess my mood reading. And then I kind of plan videos around what mood I'm in, what historical era I'm enjoying reading. That's kind of the basis for my reading through my family tree series, where I curate kind of TBRs based on historical fiction and nonfiction that's tied into what branch of my family tree I'm researching at the time. So I've been working on my Dutch side forever, and so I am almost ready to do a Time Wanderer's Guide to Dutch Golden Age historical fiction, because I've now read like 15 books set in the Dutch Golden Age.
Wow, yeah.
And so that's like being like kind of my little mood reading obsession for the last like year and a half, and I have a couple more books to finish off, and I'll be, I think, kind of exhausted with that time period for a while. But that's kind of my mix of, I set TBRs, but I'm not like tied to them. Especially if I start to feel like I'm getting in a reading slump, I'm like, okay, I need a quick mystery or like a quick historical romance to just reboot my reading. I'm kind of feeling stagnant in what I've picked out for myself.
That's smart to keep it kind of fresh. But you have like, the thing about being a mood reader is you can still make plans, because I'm also a mood reader. You can make plans, but they can change, basically. They have to be able to change.
Yeah.
No, I love having a plan, and I love having like a list of books also, because once they're in my app, I know I won't forget about them, because like my Goodreads to read shelf has become basically an abyss that I just add books into and then they disappear.
Same.
Whereas like the books on my notes app, I know I'm like actually serious about getting to in the next year or so. So having them there kind of reminds me, like, yes, that was a book I was really interested in reading at the time. Because my Goodreads to read shelf is a little out of control. It's not it's not really working as an effective TBR anymore.
Oh, same. I've got like probably 700 books on my TBR, and a lot of them are from when I was reading and reviewing fantasy and stuff, and I don't really read that much fantasy anymore, so I would have to go through and like weed it out. It's just a lot of work.
Yeah, I have. So every now and then I torture myself with doing a little like math on like, okay, I've been reading about 100 books a year. I think right now I have like 1,200 books on my Goodreads to read shelf. So I'm like, if I didn't discover another book, it would still take me like 12 years to read them all. So that's just not. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
But the ones on my TBR note, that's like, I will get to them shortly. If I'm not in the mood for them that month, I just move it to the next month, and it kind of stays at the top of my radar that way.
That's really smart.
Yep.
Did Martine come in? I missed her.
I think she was. I think she said hello.
Hi.
Thanks for dropping in, Martine.
Oh, in the chat.
In the chat. No, yeah.
I thought it was like on the stream. Hello.
No, yeah. There she is. Yeah, her icon is Caitlin Collins from CNN. She says that expression down as the angry bird look.
The angry bird look. That's funny.
You gotta laugh. You have to laugh.
Yes. Absolutely.
But yeah, the TBRs I think will always be there. You know, when I shuffle off this mortal coil, my TBR will still be like, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books. All I can say is I hope heaven is a place with libraries and just books that we can just continue to read in the next realm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes. And yes, I agree with this.
That is hilarious. I will watch them up at anywhere they are too, just so you know.
What was that? Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading a comment.
Oh, just the musical bookworm. And I haven't talked to Victoria, right?
Yeah, Victoria.
Victoria, it's been ages.
Yes, she was in our Brothers Karamazov read along.
Yes, that was a lot of fun.
That was so fun.
And I definitely did not pick the right person who was the killer. You think after reading all these mysteries, I would know. No.
I didn't either. I didn't see it
Yeah.
coming. Well, this is interesting. I kind of want to talk a little bit about imposter syndrome. This was not in the notes. I apologize. This is a like off the cuff question. Thank you, Guru Popnart, for bringing this up. Do you guys get imposter syndrome, especially like regarding your channel titles? If you're ever like, heaven forbid, not in the mood for history or historical fiction, because this happens to me where I'm not always in the mood to read Russian literature, not always. Sometimes it's like, this is life and I love it. And then other times I'm like, I need a break.
Chelsea, you go first?
Yeah, I mean, I think yes, especially at the beginning. I mean, obviously I stopped making videos for like 3 or 4 years. Part of that was like life circumstances. It was around the time I was getting married, and then we had to do my husband's immigration. So I just had like a lot of stress in my life outside of booktube, and wasn't really looking to add anything besides just chilling when I got home from work. And I think having a smaller channel, it's always kind of like, you kind of struggle with that. A video doesn't do as well as you hoped it would or something, and you're like, oh man, why why is this like, do people not like my channel? Maybe I should try reading more popular books, especially at the beginning, kind of before you find your cohort of people that are into the same things as you, and then it becomes a magical place. So I would definitely encourage someone who is dealing with that to just keep making videos, and the awkwardness of having to edit them and rewatch yourself talking, which is kind of cringy at first. It's like, oh my goodness, is that what I sound like?
So hard.
All of that kind of goes away once you've made more than just 3 or 4 videos.
Yeah, when you start getting comments from people that are like, wow, they like me, they read like I do, we have a lot to talk about. That makes it much more motivating to post videos.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of maybe one of the harder things about genre specific or focusing on books that aren't like the most popular contemporary titles, is sometimes it takes a little bit longer to find that group of people that are jiving with the same books that you're jiving with.
But they are out there.
Yes.
How about you, Peg?
Let's see. No, I have to say I never really get, well, I don't really get burned out on the history. Like, oh, I'm just not in, I'm faking it, I'm always interested. I think sometimes I might, if I'm reading too much on a certain period or topic, like back to back, then I'm like, okay, yeah, I need to change this up. I recently had a few books come in for review, and they were great because I'm aware of them and I got to read them, but they were like Civil War and like 3 books in a row with like my boy Grant, Ulysses S. Grant. So yeah, at first I was over the moon. I was like, yes. But there's like a glut now of books coming out on Grant, and some are better than others, and some are just like rehashing things I've already, it's out there, it's publicly known. But they're introducing it again to new readers come online, younger generation, all this kind of stuff. So, but like I'm like, oh, I need to change now because I've been reading about Reconstruction for a little bit too long. So like give me something else. So that's
More
kind
topical.
of where, that's kind of where I'm leaning towards with the history for this genre specific channel, is that luckily I have not capped out my interest in that. It's just I do need to vary the eras or the people or the subjects, whether it's going from military history to maybe social history, what you're interested in, Chelsea, to civil rights history, or going way back, ancient times. I love ancient history, love it, and I really love ancient historical fiction, which I want to get back into. So yeah, just That not been too much of a problem so far.
Good. Yay.
Yay, that's
That's
right.
exciting. For 4 years, that's pretty impressive to not be like, I feel a shift in the winds.
Right. I'm going to make a Jane Austen channel. Yeah, that's not in my future. Because that's not my area of expertise. And I really admire people who know everything about those novels, or, I do feel I really felt out of my depth when I joined my first Booktober, a few years
Yeah.
ago. And I'm like, I have a lot to learn.
Yeah.
I don't. So I actually went out and bought some Bronte books. I read Wuthering Heights, but I haven't read Jane Eyre. So, I kind of want to rediscover these things,
Yeah.
Martine's favorite book is Middlemarch by George Eliot. She's like, you have to read it. I have not read it. So it's still on the things I want to do,
For Victobers to come.
Yes.
I'm reading Middlemarch next month in a buddy read, and I'm a bit intimidated.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah,
So you've
I'm
never read
excited.
it.
I've never read it. No, I've never read any Eliot, so
Okay.
it's exciting.
Oh,
But also
woman.
scary because that's like a huge book.
Yes. It is big. But I'm told it's very worthwhile.
Yes, I've heard that too. Yes. Victoria says hello. So this is interesting.
No.
Matt
It has-
saves. Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
No, go right ahead. I was just saying hi, Victoria, again.
Oh, yes. Matt says he saves books for later that he wants to read on Amazon, and he just discovered that they cap it at 600.
No.
That is a fascinating fact.
Yes.
You know what,
I
Matt?
guess
I
they
do that
know.
too. Yeah, I just add things to my cart or save for later. The great thing about that is the prices are always dropping. They're fluctuating with the market, as you do.
Yeah.
But I could put one in there and say it's a little too expensive right now. Just put it in my cart. As soon as that thing drops to a nice round number I like, then I boom
Yes.
move it to the cart.
I'm
But
waiting.
I did not know they capped it. That's good to know.
You might have to start making like separate wish lists, like books to read for later,
Yeah.
2021 wish list.
Yeah, that's right.
List to circumvent that.
Amazon does not appreciate the necessity of an unread shelf. I've heard that that's so important for readers to have an unread library of books, basically. And having it on Amazon is kind of like that.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Oh, Lou!
Oh.
I can't wait to hear your first when you get there. No pressure. It's amazing. Oh! We have some Dostoevsky newbies. Well,
Oh my.
next month we're reading. I don't know if I would say start reading Poor Folk with us next month if you've never read Dostoevsky. But we are doing a Dostoevsky readathon next month. So,
Wow.
yeah. But it's like a shorter one, so maybe it could be a good entry point, but I just know that it's really different from a lot of his other work because it was like his socialist utopian period. And that's very different from his later work where he was more talking about like faith more so. So yeah. So I think Victoria is referring to the imposter syndrome thoughts, maybe?
Yeah.
Or about maybe why am I posting? Because I know Victoria is getting back into posting right now. She's getting into a rhythm, which I'm thrilled about.
That's great. I look forward
Yes.
to that.
Me too.
Yay! We're getting the old crew back together.
Yes. Yay! Paul's joining us for Poor Folk next month. This is for in case you guys hadn't heard, we're doing Project Gutenberg readathon next month. So Poor Folk is on Project Gutenberg. So people are going to read that.
How many readathons do you typically have going on every month, or does it vary, Christy? I'm really curious how you kind of organize these things.
Hang on, let me try
calendar-wise.
It does seem like she's always hosting.
It does, right?
Stuff.
Well, I don't normally host more than one thing at a time. This was accidental that I'm hosting 2 things next month. That doesn't normally happen.
Okay.
Normally I try to do one at a time because more than that it's a bit too much. But
Absolutely.
yeah. But I have another announcement video coming up very soon on my channel, guys, for World War November. So, and Peg is involved with this. So, yes. Keep an eye out. Yes. Yeah, I understand why people are intimidated. I think in one sense, there's a reason to be, but on another sense, if you just say, this is going to take some time, I'm going to sit down with it, and I'm going to expect that it's going to take longer than something maybe I would otherwise read would take. If you have like the proper expectations going in, I think you'll find it like refreshingly invigorating. It's a nice change from like any other genre, I would say. Dostoevsky's very unique, but he feels kind of modern in a lot of ways. So I won't go into that too long because I could talk about it for forever. Oh, and some people are talking about Middlemarch. I haven't read it either.
Oh. Right. Okay.
This is a good time to discover Victorian literature. This is funny.
Yeah, like, let me just ask the experts here. If I were to start with Jane Austen, which novel do you think I should read as a complete newbie?
Ooh.
Juicy.
How many have you read, Chelsea? Have you read them all?
I've read all of them, and
You've read
Lady
all.
Susan and Sandington and the Watsons.
Okay.
Which are the fragmentary novels that she never got to finish.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Have you watched any of the adaptations, or?
Yeah, I mean, I have. I think I've seen Pride. I think I've seen Pride and Prejudice. Yes, and then, well, I might have seen several adaptations of that because they've made it several times with different actresses, right? I've seen the one with Emma Thompson and oh God, what is her name? Kate
Winslet. That's Sense and
Kate Winslet. Is that Sense and Sensitivity or Sensibility?
Sense and Sensibility, yeah.
Sensitivity. Yeah, and then I think Pride and Prejudice. So would that be my experience, or because I'm basic?
Yeah,
well,
no, I totally agree with Victoria's comment. I wanted to be like hipster about it and like have a non-Pride and Prejudice favorite Austen, but like unfortunately it's just that Pride and Prejudice is really funny. Like the social commentary is really funny in it.
Okay.
I think my second favorite is Sense and Sensibility, but I wouldn't really probably recommend it because a lot of the characters, the romance is kind of frustrating. You have to read it as more of a book about sibling relationships, which makes it more interesting. If you like Gothic stuff, Northanger Abbey is like a parody of Gothic, but you said you hadn't read much of the Brontes, so that might not
just
be as
Wuthering Heights. Yeah.
You might enjoy Mansfield Park, which is one of her least popular, but it has kind of some interesting. She was starting to branch out into more social commentary, particularly around slavery. And so there's some interesting connections even in the name Mansfield, which was, I think, a surname of like a prominent abolitionist politician at the time. And that's why she called it Mansfield Park.
I didn't know
and
that.
One of the characters in Mansfield Park like owns a plantation, and there's kind of some controversy. So there's like this threads of early abolitionists in Mansfield Park, which could be interesting. Kind of, you could add in some historical books that would tie into maybe the Haitian Revolution or something that would.
Oh, another area I'm interested in. Yes. Oh God, Chelsea, yes, I'm going to be picking your brain a lot.
Going I took a Caribbean history class in at university. I did my minor in history, and so I did a Caribbean history class and a Caribbean literature class where we read like early American literature, including some Haitian Revolution fiction, which is really cool.
Awesome. Okay, well, I've got my marching orders on where to start
Pride
with
and
Jane
Prejudice, I
Austen.
think, is her best. Like, I just love Pride and Prejudice. It's just,
Yeah,
it's just amazing.
I could go for that because I love just witty dialogue. The just the sense of humor. Just watching those adaptations, you're just like, God, man, those people were just on it. They just had those. They just so polished. Every comeback was just brilliant. If we could only talk like that in real life, right? Or at least me. I'm always stumbling over that's why I'm a better writer than I am a talker. So
Thank you for that background on Mansfield Park, Chelsea. That one's my favorite, but I wouldn't necessarily say that's like, oh, this is the place to start, because so many people rank it super low that I'm afraid that other people don't love it as much as I do. But thank you.
I would say it's my least favorite, but I'm planning, this Jane Austen July is going to be my Mansfield Park Jane Austen July. And I'm planning to read some kind of early American, I want to read A Woman of Color, which is like by an early American biracial author that's kind of discussing similar topics as Mansfield Park is hinting at.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like Peg might be into that because it's got kind of some more biting social commentary than some of her other books. But
yes, it does. All right. This has been co-opted by Jane Austen. This chat has been. But let's get back to our topic, and then we can always circle back at the ending if we must. Oh darn. So how do you guys choose what to post on your channel? And do you always have your channel idea in mind? Like, do you try to do channel specific content, or are you more like, I'm gonna do normal booktube things, like TBRs and wrap-ups and stuff like that, like standbys? Do you want to start, Peg?
Sure. Yeah, this one is tough for me because I started off kind of doing the booktube thing, which I was doing tags and things like that. And I have really fallen off on all of that. I mean, I was tagged on something in the last couple of months and I still haven't done it. I don't know. Yeah, I have some angst because I'm like, do I return to some of the things like that, like monthly wrap-ups? But really it's hard for me because I'm just trying to cover the books that I've been commissioned to cover, and write reviews for. But then I kind of will pick up the books that I want to read on my own. And I'm like, I want to feature these on the channel. So, but it's never neat, like cutoff dates. Oh, here are the books I, picked up at the beginning of the month. And here's my wrap up at the end. It's really just a free flowing river of reading and books, and they're coming in, they're moving out. So and frankly too, it's just, we all have our jobs and stuff. So this is as I'm able to put up videos and kind of show what's coming in. And also kind of highlighting, oh, here's some books I found, my used book hunts. I love searching, secondhand bookstores, and finding those gems, those, and even just physical editions of books that harken back to the 70s and 80s. Like, look at this old book. I remember when books and book jackets were designed this way. You know what I mean? It's like an exercise in just historical, book shopping. But I think it's mostly just, I don't have any hard and fast rules. I kind of look at what I have coming in, and I do try to break them up in, okay, this episode, I'm going to highlight historical fiction. And here's a lot of new historical fiction that's come out, or here's something I've read recently. So I do try to get as many things in as I can, because I'm not able to make a video as much as I'm moving towards making more videos, but definitely it's as I'm able to. And so I got to have some loose rules around that.
Yes. And Carla is another booktuber with like a kind of a genre specific channel name. So yeah, I could understand. So Carla's facing the same angst.
Yes, it is real. And you have to be kind to yourself too. And I've learned that from Martine. Well, she tells me, I don't know if I've learned it because I kind of always am feeling guilty. Like, damn it, I wanted to do more. I miss doing this. And she's like, you're doing a lot right now. Be nice to yourself, you know?
Yeah.
I just wish I had some more hours in the day. And who knows, maybe if I ever get to retire, then this will be everything. And I'll be able to like do more, you know? But I'm glad I have it. And I'm glad I know all of you. That's all I can say.
Yes. How about you, Chelsea?
I think I just really make videos that I'm interested in. I agree with the angst on the TBRs and hauls, and I'm always torn by TBRs and wrap-ups because they always do really well, like, analytically. But they're not my favorite videos to make. So I'm always like, and then I feel guilty when I post a TBR and I don't do a wrap-up because people will be like, can't wait to hear your thoughts on X. And I'm like, you're never going to.
That's reality, though. You know.
Maybe I'll post a review on Goodreads if things are going well. But it's like those are always the videos that kind of get the most views because they have names that are, you know, linked into the algorithm and everything. I feel like I've kind of switched away into only doing TBRs when I'm like doing a readathon and not just doing like a monthly TBR. So I'll still do like a Victober TBR, a Jane Austen July TBR, because I have like set books that I really want to read for that. But I found the monthly TBR, it just doesn't really work very well with my reading and the kind of videos that I want to make. So I always go back and forth on that. And then I'm like, oh, I should get back into doing the TBRs and wrap-ups, but it's not really what I enjoy. I think, yeah, I make videos. Sometimes I know they're not going to be super popular. Like my reading through my family tree videos are pretty niche because not only are they mostly historical fiction and historical nonfiction, but you have to kind of be interested in whatever weird subsection of time and place that I'm focusing on. So it's like, unless you also have ancestors from like this one valley in Norway or like are really into the Dutch Golden Age, is this really a video that you're going to be like enthralled by? Maybe not, but every now and then people do stumble across it and then they're really excited. Like, oh my goodness, I have a whole video on this. And so that's really exciting. It makes it worth it, I think. But like my TBR on my phone, I have like a Google Doc with just pages of ideas, and some of the ideas I'm kind of percolating over time because I'm like, oh, I really want to make a video on X topic, but I haven't read all the books I want to read to make that video. And so I just keep it there. And eventually, like I think this year is going to be the year that I finally do my interwar fiction, historical fiction video, because I feel like I've finally read enough interwar historical fiction to make the video. But I've been collecting titles, being like, I can't make a video with like 2 books, but now that I'm up to like 5 or 6, I feel like I can actually kind of make a little, you know, put them all together. So I'm like frantically reading more interwar in addition to Victober because I want to put it out in time for Remembrance Day.
Nice.
That is great. I can't wait for that.
Yes.
I'm going to be adding more to my TBR.
In the last couple of years, I've really gotten into interwar as a time period. It's really fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
This is interesting because this is what I've found as well. I think when I started my channel, I really wanted it to be reviews because I find that so cathartic to be able to share all of my thoughts on a book. And it's fun to be able to look back at it because for me, I get less stressed, I think, about video reviews than I did about written reviews, which is a weird thing to say. But I wrote a lot of written reviews, but I would be so sensitive to the wording that it would take me a very long time to write it in a way that I was comfortable sharing it. But if I can just say it, for me, that's a little easier. But in the beginning, I was so discouraged about how badly reviews did that I just stopped doing them. But actually, over the long term, reviews do really well. So yeah, I've started doing them again gradually.
Mhm. Yeah, I've noticed that too, and I've heard that said that, they're like the tortoise and the hare, right? Like if you want to if you want to get a lot of people watching your channel, book calls, right? Boom. But over
Yeah.
time, drops right off. But the tortoise is the book review, because
Mhm.
people will be searching for that book in the future,
Mhm.
typing in that name, and there's your video. So
Mhm.
I think that's important. I've done a few video reviews, and I've done some author interviews, which are great, and I want to start doing again. It's just building in that
Yeah.
time.
Cool.
But yeah, those things are things that I definitely do remain genre specific for, like with the author interviews for sure. But I've been tempted sometimes. I've been tempted to, like, bring on someone who writes this, inner city thrillers or something like that, or mysteries. And
Yeah.
so I've been tempted. I obviously the Marple a Month series is very popular with a very small amount of people. But it's our crew. It's our crew that we recognize by name in the comments, and so
Yeah.
Martine and I both enjoy going through those comments and with our wrap up videos. But we want to keep doing them. But even though when I put them up, yeah, I'm not putting them up for views and hits and likes. I'm putting it up because I know there's some people out there that are like, yeah, let's read these Marples together.
Yeah.
And it's a love. So I'm not so much concerned about, views as I am. As long as there's some people out there that are getting something out of it, then I'm happy. Team
Woo!
Marple a Month. Woo! Yes.
Honestly, it is the comments that make it worthwhile. My channel did not it's so interesting. Over time, people have discovered my channel and want Dostoevsky content, but it was not like that for a long time. So over time, it just took a long time for people who really love Dostoevsky to find my channel, but now they have. So I just want to encourage anybody who is thinking about devoting a channel to their love of a specific genre. It just might take time for people to find you, but keep going. Keep
Right.
going. Don't get
Or
discouraged
even,
too quick.
yeah, or even one author. I mean, you really kind of went out. You're like, I'm putting Dostoevsky's name in here, knowing that I'm going to be reading more than just him.
Yes.
you know.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. Well, maybe we have time for one more quick question and then we'll start. It's starting to get late, so we'll let everybody
Yeah.
go. But
Out there.
let's see. Boy, there's a bunch more questions we had. So it's hard to
Oh,
choose one. Is there a particular question that maybe each of you wanted to answer off of our list?
yeah. Let me take a look here.
Okay.
Um, okay. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, go
Go
for it.
for it.
Okay. So I think the question I was going to answer, like, what tips do you have for someone considering starting a genre-specific
All
channel? I know we
right.
kind of already touched on that in our discussion. Biggest thing I have to say is it has to be authentic. You have to be real. Like, if I'm going to be talking about knitting or whatever, knitting, books or knitting mysteries, then you better be talking about that and being, kind of well read in that area. I guess just being sincere about what your passion is, and just coming to it, honestly. Like, I come very honestly saying, look, I love history. I'm not like a PhD, but I've read so much over these many decades that I feel like I can speak somewhat intelligently on some of these topics. So, I say just be true to what your interests are, and allow yourself some flexibility as well. You don't have to be rigid. I often say on this channel when people tune in, I'm like, well, you might have come here for history today, but we're going to talk about this today because I also read fiction. I also read mysteries and thrillers, and I branch out. So, and I think people realize that you got to have some flexibility, but just come to it with a sense of being, just be really honest about your interests.
I agree.
Why, thank you. I disagree. I don't have the energy to become a PhD.
How about you, Chelsea? Was there a question you really wanted to answer before we end?
I feel like we've touched on a lot of the points that were in the later questions, but for the question, what are some of the best things about running a genre-specific channel? I just want to reiterate how amazing it is to find the people in the bookish internet that like all the same weird, niche, quirky books that you're into. When you're just reading those books in life, sometimes you have friends that like to read, but they're like, man, I would never read the sort of books that you read. So it can feel like, oh man, I have no one to talk to about these books. And then when you do put yourself out there in the comment sections or starting your own booktube channel, it's like you do find people that like reading the exact same type of books as you and can have really great conversations with them. So that is definitely the best part about just continuing to make videos about the books that you like reading and not like caving to the pressure to read the big popular books, because you will find people that like reading, no matter what your genre is or how specific you think your niche interest is, there are other people out there. And I think that that's the best part about running a genre specific or genre majority channel, I guess I would say, because I'm not like Peg, I don't pull myself into one thing, but running a genre majority channel, I just get to talk about my favorite books and make videos that I would want to watch, and then find people that are also interested in that, and that's really fun.
That is.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Chelsea. That was brilliant. If I could just add, I think, and I don't know what if you guys live with, if your partners are readers or not, but I know that and that's another reason why I created this channel. Like Martine told me, she's like, I got burnout in grad school on reading. She's like, I hope that love will come back, but she likes audiobooks. She's like, I can't do it. I'm like, okay. My family, my sister, brother-in-law, they all, they look at my books. No one has that inclination where we have to walk up and look at the books and say, ooh, what do you got? It's just, we're very, all the people here and in the chat, we're all bookaholics, bibliophiles, right? And I need this connection with you guys because I don't have it in my personal life. Like, my friends and neighbors come over and they just like, wow, you got enough books? And I'm like, oh man, that's not the response, I want. Because they're so fabulous. So I made this channel to really just connect with people who are like me, that just love it. Just stay in a book all day and talk about them. So just thanks to you guys. I love all of you.
Yes. That was beautiful. That both of your guys' ending comments are exactly why I always encourage friends. If you're thinking of starting a booktube channel, do it. You will meet people that it will shock you. The people that you will find that you will love, that will love you, and you'll become friends. It's really a special place.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that's a really good place to wrap it up. There was one more question here. I'm curious if anyone's goals have changed when they started their channel to now. That might be kind of tough to do quickly, but I feel like it's also a great question. Do you guys want to tackle it?
Chelsea, you want to go?
I think it kind of ties into exactly what we're talking about right now. I'm like quite an introverted person, so I didn't really realize when I started my booktube how much I would enjoy the community aspect and, doing Voxer chats with people and doing buddy reads and doing like collaborative videos like this. Like that was not something that was on my radar at all. I was like, I'll put my videos out there and kind of that'll be that. I'm not I wasn't thinking about really joining a community in that way, and that's turned out to be the best part, and has ended up being that I don't really care, the size of my channel, because I have connections that are worth it, even though I'm still a pretty small channel. So I would say, yeah, that's the biggest change in what I'm looking to get out of booktube, I guess, is that now I'm just in it for the people.
Yes. Now we came for the books. We stayed for the people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kevin's like, let's close the door.
That's real life. That's real TV. I know.
Yep.
Got dogs
Poor Kevin.
outside my door whimpering like it's dinner time. Yeah.
Aww.
As far as me goes, my goals have not changed. It's just to keep connecting with people. I want to keep just letting people know about the new history that's coming online. Just geeking out over new historical fiction, even mysteries and things like this. Joining buddy reads and just getting to know everyone more. It's just, I love it. And so my goals haven't really changed. No, but a great question, Christina. Thank you.
Yeah,
appreciate your support.
Absolutely. I feel like I didn't know what my goals were when I started my channel, but I was looking for people, and boy, did I find the coolest people. So thank you all so much for being here. And you guys are so kind. Thank you so much for commenting and being here with us and having a great conversation. And I especially want to thank my guests tonight. You guys did amazing.
Thank you for having us, Christy.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for asking. That meant so much.
Yes, I think it was a God thing. I think God was like, okay, these people would work great together. We got to connect them. So
I hope we can do more stuff together. Let's make let's find where we can align our reading interests and do something together again. This would be great.
Yes, I agree.
I would love that.
Then it's on. I'm not going to let you guys forget.
We're in an Instagram group chat now. It's official.
That's right.
Yes.
Right. I mean, between historical fiction, classics, and history, I think we can find something we can read together for sure and talk about.
Yeah. Yes. We will continue this conversation. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.